So moved.
Second?
Second.
Discussion? Hearing none. Adam, please call the roll.
Mr. Horton.
Yes.
Ms. French.
Yes.
Mr. D.
Yes.
Ms. Casper.
Yes.
Ms. Schaefer.
Yes. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Welcome. We just got to have a wonderful celebration of some of our retirees before this meeting, so we're all going in with grateful hearts for all their service. And now we're also have many end-of-the-year festivities that everyone is busy with at all the schools, so I hope everyone is enjoying that for their children. And I just wanted to highlight that we have graduation coming up May 22nd for East, May 23rd for West, and both of those are at 8 o'clock this year at the Cintas Center. So the times are a little different sometimes year to year, so make sure that people know that it's 8 o'clock. And with that, I will move it to Dr. Whately.
So as you mentioned, just wonderful enjoying some time with our retirees this afternoon or this evening. So just wanted to give you some enrollment updates and some information before I get into some additional award winners. So our current enrollment is 17,372. The first day of school this year was 17,532. And just for comparison, last year, on this very same date last year, we were at 17,583, just so you have those comparison points. Spring sports have started their end-of-season tournament preparations as the regular season is coming to a close, so good luck to all our teams in the pursuit of postseason glory. Sports and exams, right? Those are kind of what you think of hand in hand, jokingly. 9 through 12 reminders. So high school exams start Tuesday, May 20th in the afternoon, with shortened days on Wednesday, May 21st, and Thursday, May 22nd. Thursday, May 22nd is the last day of school for a 1 hour early release for all of our students. That is hard to believe that is next week. Unbelievable. So as we're kind of closing down one year, we're rolling into that next year. So buildings are setting their open houses, curriculum nights, and conference nights for the upcoming school year of 25-26. Pretty soon, buildings will also be posting their summer office hours and working with the public through the summer to help meet any needs that might arise, so be on the lookout for that. And last but not least, if you have not enrolled your kindergartner yet for 25-26, please do so. We would love them to join the Lakota Local Schools family. Just as we were highlighting our retirees last week, we had the fortunate time to celebrate our Diamond Educator Awards. Those were formerly called the Educator of Excellence Awards in the past, and we do that in partnership with the Northern Cincinnati Foundation. And they actually select the recipients of that award. Although we are part of the committee, they drive that committee decision. So I just want to applaud our winners who were recognized last week. Our administrative winner was Tracy Steubenrock at Wyandotte. Our 7 through 12 winner was Miss Stacy Lane. You might remember her from an earlier presentation here teaching at Lakota East High School. Our K-6 winner was Elizabeth Bonin at Freedom Elementary. And then last but not least, our support staff, that's a title they use, but counselor role was our winner with Miss Jennifer Russell at Creekside. So not only congratulations to our retirees, but also those Diamond Educator Awards. They truly are the gems of our district. That's why they have the Diamond Award. And it was just wonderful to celebrate and see the individualized, personalized ceremonies that our principals had planned, and just hear from our kids and our staff. Just one really wonderful time celebrating them. So great end to the year as we close up.
Great. Is that all?
Mm-hmm.
All right, Mr. Zine.
I'm going to save more of my comments for the 5-year forecast presentation.
All right. That leads to our best part of our meeting, our student spotlight. So if we could have our students, I'm guessing Cherokee's coming up first.
Good evening. So tonight we're shining the spotlight on two schools that have earned the Purple Star designation from the Ohio Department of Education and Workforce. This prestigious award recognizes schools that show major commitment to students and families connected to our nation's military. With over 3,000 public schools in Ohio, only 367 currently hold this title, 2 of which belong to Lakota. It's our very own Cherokee Elementary School and Lakota East High School. So the award requires a renewal every 3 years, and Cherokee just earned its second straight designation last month. The application is extremely involved and was led by teacher Lisa Wazlewski with the support of teacher Wendy St. John. Cherokee has a lengthy list of longstanding traditions to honor its community of veterans, including a new program called Muffins with the Military, a monthly effort led by Cherokee's counselor, Jason Kennison, to provide direct support to Cherokee students who come from military families. So 3 Cheetahs are with us tonight to share more about the school's efforts. Please welcome Sydney Livermore, Easton Meyer, and Marcus Ott.
Good evening. My name is Marcus Ott. Hello, good evening. My name is Marcus Ott, and I'm in 5th grade at Cherokee Elementary. My father is serving in the Coast Guard branch of the military, and we are excited to share that we just received the Purple Star Award for the Ohio Department of Education for the 2nd time. In order to receive this award as a school, we have to do things to support our military families. We are going to share some of the things that we do. As a school, we have an annual Veterans Day ceremony, and students brought in pictures of family members who were or are currently in the military. We hung them up in our main hallway. All scouts who attend Cherokee participated in a presentation of colors. Students sing patriotic songs, and family members of Cherokee who were or are currently in the armed forces were invited. We have 6th graders compete in the Patriots Pen Essay Contest for VFW Post 7696. Some students share their essays, and we had 3 area winners. We also had some special surprise presentations this year at our ceremony. Cherokee parent Alex Lang, currently serving in the Air National Guard, spent 5 months recently working with the U.S. Air Forces, Europe, Africa, and Germany in the Strategy Division. While there, he had a United States flag flown in the United Arab Emirates in honor of Cherokee. We have the flag and certificate from Mr. Lang hanging in our cafeteria. Our school resource officer and Army veteran, Lieutenant Carl Sigmund, was presented with a wooden police flag from Greg Schneider, founder of Operation Ramp It Up, and his 4 grandchildren who attend Cherokee. Greg began building ramps for veterans in 2014 to date. His nonprofit has installed over 250 ramps and recycled over 200 ramps in all 50 states for veterans. Their families or anyone with mobility issues have exhausted all other resources.
Hi, my name is Easton. I'm in 6th grade at Cherokee Elementary, and my father was serving in the Air Force branch. Other ways we support military families are 3rd grade teacher and our Cherokee military family liaison, Mrs. Lewandowski, and our office manager, Mrs. Patterson, created a dedicated page on our Cherokee website featuring resources for our military families, along with contact information for our liaison. New this year, we started monthly muffins with the military family members. We have 8 students who have family members who are currently serving. These students meet with our school counselor, Mr. Kennison, monthly to discuss common interests, get to know each other, and enjoy some muffins. We participated in Valentine's for Veterans. The entire school made Valentines to donate to our local Blue Star families. The Valentines were passed out at various VA community-based outpatient clinics. The month of the military child is in April. We celebrated this by having a Spirit Week, the last week of April, wearing purple, red, white, and blue camouflage, favorite military branch, and wear RED, which stands for Remember Everyone Deployed.
My name is Sydney. I am in 3rd grade at Cherokee. My father serves in the Navy. What we plan to do in the future. Cherokee will partner with Operation Ramp It Up. Once a ramp is built, we will send cards thanking them for their service and continue to help honor their local veterans. We will look forward to honoring those who are part of the military enlistment ceremony at Lakota East and Lakota West. Students will be making cards to congratulate our former Cheetahs at the Parade of Graduates very soon. We love being a Purple Star school, honoring our military families, not only at Cherokee, but across the community.
Wow, what a wonderful job you all did, and thank you for all you're doing to honor our veterans. Does the board have any comments or questions for these cheetahs?
Sure. Thank you so much for that wonderful presentation. Very, very proud of you. I have one question though. I know plans change and it might be too soon, but the question is, how many of you are ready to join the military? Oh, you're making plans to join the military.
So, I have no clue. I plan to go to the military, but I might, depends on the situation at the time. But, yeah, I'm pretty sure yeah, sorry.
Too soon.
Perfect. Great.
All right, thank you so much. Appreciate it. I know it might be too early.
Marcus, Easton, and Sydney, thank you. What a great presentation, but also thank you for all of the service that your families are doing, but also the service that you're doing for the veterans in need. It's really impressive to see. I just had one question for any one of you to answer, which is, what was your favorite activity that you did during all of this?
I would say my favorite activity that I enjoyed the most was probably where the scouts participated in a presentation of colors, which I was included in.
Fantastic, thank you.
Good, thank you.
Thank you so much for your presentation tonight. That was fabulous. And I'm going to assume that your family members are here in the audience tonight, and I'll say thank you so much for your service to our country. I feel like there's never enough that we can do in school to thank our veterans for sacrificing their lives for our freedom, but I can say that you all are doing a fabulous job making them feel special and creating opportunities to recognize their sacrifice. So thank you for taking your time to do that, and thank you for being here tonight.
Yes, thank you. Your presentation was very well done. I'm very impressed with all of your speaking skills. And again, want to thank you not only for what you have done for veterans, but how you also continue to include military families and support of them today as they as they are, fighting for our country, sometimes in other places in the world. So thank you again, and great job on your presentation.
Echo all the comments that everyone else had. Great job coming to the board meeting and speaking in front of everyone. I know that's never always a fun thing to do, but you all did great.
So I have the privilege of being here every day, so I feel like I have a good pulse on what's going on. But I'm telling you, you had jam-packed activities that I didn't even know were happening. So that is so exciting to hear the plethora of ways and the multiple ways that you give back. And I think we are better each and every day because of you. And I know our military families and our veterans appreciate that very much. So great job.
All right, and we would love for you to join us, if you would, up front so we can have a photo taken with you. And you'll be able to see it on social media, I'm imagining this week.
Lakota East earned its second straight Purple Star designation 2 years ago and will apply for a third renewal in the fall. In addition to more high-profile programs like its Veterans Day program and the naturalization ceremony, Lakota East Student-Led Veterans Network is the organizer behind a whole host of year-round efforts around school and in the community. Thanks to the leadership of Lakota East Instructional Aide and Club Advisor Sally Barker, the group also holds a long-standing partnership with Blue Star Family, an organization committed to supporting military families. Please welcome Brooklyn Hendricks, Emily Madding, and East alumni, Andy Madding, to share more about the work of the East Veterans Network.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Emily Madding, and I'm a senior at Lakota East High School. I have been a part of the Veterans Club for the past 3 years. I wanted to join the club because it was a way for me to give back to those who have sacrificed for us. One opportunity I had was to go to Washington, D.C. for the Parade of Heroes. Members from the club were invited to go with the East Choir. I was able to shake the hands of veterans from all over the country and visit the national monuments. My friend Sydney, who was also in the club, had a family member who was also in the club and had a family member who was buried at Arlington, and we were able to do a special ceremony at his grave with Mr. Barker from Westchester VFW. Also, our club has been able to help with Honor Flight Tri-State, making cards and going to welcome them home from their honor flight to DC. I love going to CVG on the bus to be able to join in the crowds to show the veterans that we, as students, do really appreciate all that they have done for us. In addition, we have been able to help do activities with Blue Star families who help connect with resources for military-connected families. Dr. Jerry Maples has come to our club meetings to do activities, bring us pizza and t-shirts. We have made cards for veterans for Valentine's for them, and they have also brought thousands of new books that were available through Book Fair last fall for all families to have. I am so thankful for the opportunity to serve those who have served us and been a part of Veterans Club. Thanks.
Good evening. My name is Brooklyn Hendricks. When I was a freshman, my world studies teacher would always talk about how cool and amazing it is to welcome veterans back from their honor flight trip. He would talk about the joy on their faces as they'd look out and see hundreds of people cheering for them. That's what inspired me to join this club. I wanted to create more memories like that to make the veterans in our community feel more appreciated. This will be my 3rd year in the club, and I've had the honor of being the president for the 2024-2025 school year. I've always tried to make it to every event, show up early and leave late, and I always make it a point to leave each veteran happier than what they were before. I've gone to and participated in the craft show every year for the past 3 years. I've continuously showed up early and left late in all hopes of increasing the amount of donations we've received. On average, we receive $1,200 in donations over the course of one weekend. 100% of those donations go to the Westchester VFW, the Westchester American Legion, and Honor Flight Tri-State. This year, in hopes of raising more money, the vice president of the club suggested that we do 1 push-up for every $1 donated. And after we both individually completed 100 push-ups, he found that it does indeed entice people to donate more money. That ties into the next event. Each year, our school participates in the 22 push-up challenge. This challenge symbolizes the 22 veteran suicides that occur every day. When invited to participate in this challenge, many students jump at the opportunity, whether they're able to complete that challenge or not. Each year, we host our biggest event yet, the Veterans Day event. Although it started off small with only 20 veterans attending, we have since grown it to over 70 veterans each year, many of whom continue to return year after year. This is a popular event in our community and is well liked by many veterans. There are student volunteers that help the vets as needed, a delicious breakfast that awaits them in the hub, and a parade down Main Street where the veterans and their families are cheered on by hundreds of students. That is followed by an assembly where the veterans are honored for everything they gave up. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Andy Madding. I'm actually a 2023 grad, so I'm returning. I was a previous member of the Lakota East Veterans Club, and one of my favorite memories is having the chance to participate in Wreaths Across America, which is a national program in which we gather volunteers from both our club and the community to place wreaths on veterans' graves around the holidays. This particular event was especially impactful to me as it was a meaningful way to honor the fallen and continue to remember their legacy and sacrifice. Community service is a really important pillar in my life, and the club allows students to make change through events such as this one in a way that recognizes the servicemen and women that have protected our freedom in our country. Noah Keith was a fellow member of my year of the Veterans Club and could not be here tonight due to his enrollment at the United States Military Academy at West Point, but he provided this statement. I am not from a military family, but when I made the decision to attend West Point, I was able to draw upon my experiences in Veterans Club to know how important the duty of serving my country is. This club developed who I was in high school and helped cultivate my purpose for serving today. His older sister, Grace Keith, is currently serving in the Army and is actually the founder of Veterans Club, and she says, I can't believe the impact this club has been able to have. Thank you all for the work you've put in to keeping the program going. I also want to thank the Barkers, who have been our most amazing advisors. They've done so much for us, and we're really honored to be a Purple Star school. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you again for all you are doing every day. It's amazing. We love hearing about this. And this time I'm going to start this way. If you have anything you'd like to say or ask.
Well, thank you for coming and doing your presentation. I love the Military Veterans Day celebration that you guys do. You always do such a great job with, like you said, from the breakfast to the parade to honoring the veterans in the assembly. Mrs. Barker is going to be missed. She really took this challenge and ran with it and brought it to where it is today. And I know that she's leaving a legacy that you all will follow, but it's very impressive, and thank you again for coming tonight.
Mr. Zink?
How many members of the Veteran Club are there?
I'd say roughly about 20.
And then do you go to CBG when you welcome the people back, or, okay.
Yeah. It's so much fun. It's one of the best events that we have.
So I was able to talk with some of our veterans at our Veteran Day Parade and event, and they are just so thankful as well. You know, particularly generationally, they feel very proud that you would carry on and see the appreciation for our veterans and their service. You know, one of you, I think it was you, Emily, that said, to serve them who have served us, right? And that motto, whether you're talking the military or just life, I think serves us all very, very well. Although the push-up challenge, I don't think I'd be too good at that, but I think that's a very impressive feat, for sure.
I just want to say thank you. It's so honorable and selfless that you have chosen to spend your time making the lives of others better. I was lucky enough to attend the honor flight with my grandfather years ago, and I can tell you that it is definitely the top 3 things that has ever happened in his life. That's how much joy and that brought him, and the fact that you are spending your time making sure that all of our veterans that have that opportunity feel that joy, and those that don't within the school, is just really honorable. So thank you.
I just wanted to thank you as well. I think the Honor Flight is such a remarkable program, and one of the things that for many veterans, especially depending on what period they served, understanding that the support of the community is so fundamental and has been a transformation that I've seen over the past 40 years or so. And so it's really, really great that you guys can actually be there and have that reminder of the support of the community when they come back from that really meaningful moment. And so thank you very much. And also, as you're graduating, and Andy, good to see you back again. Thank you for coming. I want you to appreciate what the legacy that you guys are leaving as well, to see how much this club has grown over the past 4 or 5 years or so, and how it's continuing in the future. It's a really, really neat part of Lakota East, and I really appreciate all the work that you guys have done to build it.
And so also I want to echo the same thanks to you all for what you've done and the presentation tonight. I know it's a thing of joy when they see those who serve, when they come back and they see you guys receive them. At least they feel joyful and know that they appreciate it. So thank you for what you do. We appreciate you. Thank you.
And with the honor flights, when they come back, you mentioned it may be like 20 students, but we've had 3 buses of kids, haven't we, that go down, so it's a lot more of our students who are able to participate in that. And I think it's one of those events that if you have the opportunity to witness, it's incredibly moving, and you can't help but feel pride in both the folks that have just done the honor flight, as well as all of our students who are cheering them on. So thank you for continuing that legacy and just making all of us so proud of you representing Lakota for us. So we would love to have a photo with you up front.
believe Andy's a sophomore already. It's crazy.
I just asked Mrs. Barker, and she said she'd still come back and help. So we are incredibly grateful that we will still
Yeah, she
have
said,
hoping she would.
her assistance as we continue this tradition.
I think I ask her that every time I see her, right? I said, "You're retiring, but."
Right. There's still duties as assigned
That's
in
right.
retirements, right? All right. We will move to our board reports. We'll start with Butler Technology. We had our all boards meetings where all board members in the county are invited to attend, and all the students did their student showcases showing off what they've learned, and the culinary students have the opportunity to provide dinner for everyone. And it was a wonderful experience, and thank you to my fellow board members who are able to participate. And I don't know if anyone wants to share anything from what they saw. Or
just to
saw.
say the food was wonderful.
I think you guys have been
That's
back
good.
for seconds.
I really enjoy the food. Those kids, they can cook.
Yeah.
It is very amazing what a good job they do on their showcases. I just am so impressed with all of them. From starting a diner, I want to start a diner and I'm going to have one in every state.
Yeah.
I'm like, wow.
I met the guy.
To the Lakota East student who already has an AI business.
Yeah.
She has an LLC, and I'm like, wow. Very eloquent, and just everything from pet food to the student who with autism awareness. It's just, every time I go to one of those, I'm so incredibly impressed on what they're doing in the artwork, and so it's always fun. And Isaac's right, the food is really good. And the kids are very proud to serve whatever their dish is. Like during dessert, I'm like, I really can't eat dessert. And they're like, oh, you can just eat a bite. And I'm just like, okay, which one? He's like, I think you take one of each. And just, I'm like, yeah, you can say that, you're 17. But yeah, it was very impressive.
So in the School of the Arts, the way they had that set up, I forget, they told us where they had modeled it off of. I think it was a college, had done some showcase. But like they had one that was the coffee, like it was a coffee house. They were playing their songs that they'd written and then performed in the coffee house. So it was complete with, they'd gotten coffee donated, they had some treats in that room, the lighting was just so, and they had a little stage. And I mean, that song, the song we heard in the coffee shop was
good.
really
I mean,
impressive. And I agree that the student, it was an E student who has her AI LLC. And I was like, she's like, I'm an intern. And I was like a college intern? She's like, no. Like, I was like, you can't possibly be a high school student. And she's like, yes, I am. It was cute. So yeah, they're putting that on the Career Connection website for Butler Tech, and it's a model where you fill out information and it helps you develop a resume.
Yeah, she was so impressive. And very eloquent. Their presentation skills, their personal communication skills are also astounding. And I think I was talking to maybe John Graft, and he's like, that's one of the things that the teachers also work on within their, whatever their specialty is that kind of preparation and public speaking. I mean, I just was blown away. She's like, so, and what is your connection to Butler Tech? Like, she was asking me questions. I'm like, yeah. But they're just very eloquent. I do love that night, just to be able to see all the different showcases.
Yeah. I asked her too about whether somebody else can. She doesn't know me, but she knows both of you. She told me you guys were there and already encouraged her. And she felt so excited to see us here. But she didn't know who I was. So I had to introduce myself to her.
Yeah, it was lovely. And another exciting announcement that Butler Tech has been able to make is with our sports medicine program. And Nikki Drew is going to be integrally involved with this. They were able to get FC Cincinnati to agree to do student internships in sports medicine. So we're going to have over 40 students participate in that. And we're very thankful for all the work that was put into the pitch. And the night of the showcases, the night that Dr. Whiteley was there, they were like, they had just made their pitch. So they're like, we better get something. We're hoping we're getting something. We think we made a good sale. So that was lovely too, that the students will have those opportunities. So any questions? Sorry, talked more than normal. Community engagement.
We met last week and we had some discussion on master's facility community input. So we're working forward on that, and we will be seeing some things come out in the future for our community to have a part in discussion about what we want our facilities and what we want education to look like. Because we are heavily into master's facility community input for the fall, we are going to restructure and wait on doing our normal community conversation until starting second semester, starting till January. So we're thinking about a thought exchange. Is that correct, Christina?
I think they're going to do a thought exchange, but I think they're going to wait until
do it.
a little bit further into next school year to talk about what those topics are going to be. It was a very short meeting, so we
It
don't
was
have a
very
ton to report that like covers it.
Yeah, we just want to make sure we don't take away from the master's facility community input. It's going to be a heavy lift, as we know, and we also don't want to burn our community, make them come to a meeting every night, so, yeah.
Great. Now we'll move to policy committee.
So you have 4 policies here for first read. There's another section of the agenda where we will discuss the approval of the resolution, but just to discuss the 4 that you have in front of you for first read, they're all around unpaid leave, or rather I would like to call it unpaid absence. And what this stems from is, as you know, we've kind of been having this conversation, or at least keeping a data point on this all year. So when I came in, I kind of naively said, how do we handle unpaid absences? And at that time, it came to be known that those requests were kind of dispersed through all of our buildings, so 23 different administrators were handling those. And so I asked at that time for those to be funneled to me with building administrators copied, so that I could just kind of see the pulse of where we were. As we went throughout the year, those were definitely longer and in more abundance than what we probably were accustomed to. And what I mean by that is when you have something kind of dispersed through 23 buildings, and when you collect it into one spot, you can kind of see it in totality more. And so then as we kind of worked through and started to really look at the data, association leadership, both classified and certified association leadership, and I started to discuss just the quantity and the frequency of unpaid absences that were being requested. And although we did have a common vision for that, originally the discussion was to put this perhaps in a memorandum of understanding or a memorandum of agreement in the existing contracts that we have rolled over, both in the certified and classified. However, that couldn't really become solidified in that both parties really weren't bringing anything to the table like they would in negotiations, versus I was asking for language and there just wasn't that reciprocity that they felt. And so an MOU or an MOA was not established. But because of that, the policies that you see in front of you for first read, they're all the same, again, just distributed through the different groups. But really, it would be to put this into policy at least for next year. We come to the negotiation table with the associations, both of them next year, and perhaps this might become part of the collective bargaining unit after that. But until we get through that process, just having an unpaid absence process that, again, is pretty similar from what we're doing now, meaning they're filtered to me, their supervisor is copied. Their 3 personal days have to be exhausted before an unpaid absence would even be considered. But really the ultimate line or discernment I think that would like to be made is that last line about vacation usage. But again, I would be the sole approver of these and making sure that I calibrate accordingly when things are denied or when they're approved. And again, this is there's not a be-all and end-all criteria for this. What I mean by that is we would look at milestone events that happen, weddings or graduations, things of that nature, but really the quantity that we were seeing mostly were for around really, really personal use of vacations, and we would like to see that cease under this policy that's before you for first read.
Any questions or comments?
I will say, like, we discussed this quite a bit in the committee, and I think I can speak for myself. I'm disappointed that this isn't in a memorandum of understanding. I firmly believe that we need to have this clarity so that everyone understands the system we're operating under. I just think with it being in policy, it's unfortunate because then it can be changed by us at any point in time. And so next month we could change the policy and how that's handled, much less this November when there's a new election, new board, things change. So I'd much rather this live within the existing contracts with the associations, so then that way there's continuity and stability. But if this is the only route that we have to go forward to get it in place, I think it's important to have it in place. And so while this isn't optimal, I think this is what I think is the best case for us to do until we can get it into a more permanent down the line.
And I think, Mr. Horton, what you just discussed, I absolutely discussed, particularly with certified leadership of the association, that it should be more of a partnership rather than something that has the, really the whim of the board, right? I mean, really, we can look at this policy and change this policy, and as board members or superintendents change, that has the ability to flex, and so I think that partnership would be better. And like I said, I do think and do believe that hopefully this language will come to the table to at least explore, in addition to other leave language around the collective bargaining process that we will hopefully start in the fall or in the spring. But until that time, it'll be living in an interim situation so that we can get some just traction to make sure that our staff is here each and every day for our students.
Can I ask a clarifying question? So as I read this, like if I were the spouse of somebody who wins an incentive sales trip, would that be considered a vacation and I would not be able to participate in that trip?
That is correct.
And so you said if it's a milestone event, like a graduation.
Meaning, like, let's say that for whatever reason, your 3 personal days had to be exhausted during the year, but your child was graduating in May, right? Of course, we're going to let you attend your child's graduation. Business trips with your spouse are still a vacation for you, right? They might be a business trip for your spouse, but not for you. And so I think, again, the quantity and the length of time that was being requested for unpaid leave which is what caught my attention at first. And again, just the quantity in all areas. This is not isolated to teacher or counselor or aide or admin assistant. It's kind of across the board. And so, if this passes, first read or even passage, I think just being proactive with our staff that this is our new policy. We are trying to calibrate around unpaid leave. So sharing that new policy, if and when it passes, making sure we have work calendars and school calendars attached to that communication as well. And then also we do have some recalibration around personal leave. That is current contract language, but we can do a better job of recalibrating around that with administrators. So I think just making sure that as soon as we have firm footing with this policy, if it goes forth, making sure that we communicate with staff before they go into the 25-26 school year would be important as well.
And so say, again, this situation where somebody's spouse, I'll just use the same example for simplicity. So even if you want there's some crazy extenuating circumstance in this situation that you wanted to say, okay, this is going to be a rare event, this is going to be one time, I'm going to let you do this. With this new policy, you would have no latitude to do that.
I hesitate to say yay or nay to that because each scenario is very, very different, right? But if it was just a trip with your spouse, I would classify that as a vacation. If there were other odd parameters that need to be explored, I think that's where we explore that, right? But again, a trip for personal pleasure, whether that's with your spouse, whether you're yourself or whatever, we have times during the year that we can do that. It's just that those don't need to happen during the school year with our children, right? Because every role in our district is so, so critical and important that we want to use times in the summer, spring break, winter break, things of that nature to take those trips. I just had a conversation with someone recently and said, hey, you can actually take the same trip if you just save your 3 personal days and attach it to a weekend that's 5 days, not attached to a board holiday, and they kind of got the best out of both situations. So I think it's just helping people understand the applicable type of leave, that's the legal applicable type of leave that is relevant to them, and helping them plan kind of accordingly when possible. And I think if you know it proactively, if I know something proactively, if I know the expectation or the standard, I can plan around that versus our past practice around this has been pretty sloppy.
I'm going to piggyback off this because I'm confused. I was unconfused and now I'm confused again. So in the case of, is it in the policies, it's so, because it's the policy and you have to have it be very prescriptive on the trip, on the incentive trip. I mean, that's
So an incentive trip I think would be pretty clean. But let's say that there was a trip where at the end of it your daughter was getting married or something like that, right? We would talk about that and say, do you need the full extent of that? Could we use your personal days? But I would say a spousal trip, like a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, I've heard that in my career. The problem is when you extrapolate once-in-a-lifetime opportunities across 2,000 employees for multiple days, that slides pretty quickly. So the easiest answer to your spousal trip, like just if you gave it to me carte blanche, I want a trip with my spouse, I would have to say no to that. If there were other extenuating circumstances, again, I can't think of those off the top of my head, I would talk with that person and dialogue with that person to get as much understanding of that, and we would, consider that. But I think the important part for me is calibrating to each decision. So I'm going to have a spreadsheet of everything that is approved or denied so that we can make sure that that I have calibration with myself. I know that sounds crazy a little bit, but in an organization our size or even not our size, you think, oh, I'll remember that or I'll remember that. You really need to log those and keep track of what has been approved. Right now, with our past practice, everything has to be approved because everything has been approved. So I think starting with the 25-26 school year, we're really starting fresh and we can calibrate heavily within me.
So as part of that calibration, will we take into account like their absent records from the past, or
So that is where
because
negotiation language would be very, very helpful, because again, that there are some parameters that you'd have to really delve into with the association. Does it matter what your attendance is? Does it matter how long you've worked with us? Does it matter the percentage of employees that are unpaid absences at a given time? Like, all of those are really great parameters to explore, and you could see those even in other negotiated agreements around our region and the state. It's just that this was a starting point without it feel very contractual. Without a negotiated agreement, this was at least giving us a starting point so that hopefully we can bring this to the table and really do some IRB process with that negotiation. Because I think the parameters that you could build in from a very collaborative side could be interesting to see how this could expand.
Yeah, I think it's definitely something that we should talk more about, in a work session or as a team. I know, like, I'm thinking incentive trips and things like that. Sometimes you're out of the country and sometimes the date's given to you. You don't have the opportunity to say, can we attach this to a holiday, or can we do it over the summer? Those dates are given to you, and I would hate to take away the opportunity.
For people
To me, that is a once in a lifetime.
Yeah.
And so what that says to me is, once in a lifetime is what you believe is once in a lifetime, or you believe, or I believe could be very different. And so I just want to make sure that we aren't shutting down opportunities with black and white language that are once in a lifetime opportunities for our staff, with the language around vacation.
Right. Which is really why it should live in the contract and not in the policy. So I hope that that is something that we have on our list when we go to the table.
Have we compared this with other school districts to see that we are in?
So most school districts do have this in their collective bargaining unit. It does not live in policy. You will find policy around FMLA leave, unpaid leave of that nature. In fact, we pulled that from Neola to look at this. This is language that really comes in collected in bargaining units. In fact, this language, slightly modified, comes from a collective bargaining unit within the region. So I did not write it, off the top of my head. That's where the language came from, with some slight modifications.
What I want to make sure we don't lose sight of in this discussion is the amount of lost hours teaching and how that affects our students' performance.
Right.
And I think a lot of the questions that I'm hearing tonight goes back to why this should be part of the memorandum.
Right.
And if the associations don't want to engage currently to make sure that their teachers have these protections, then it's behooved to us to make sure that we're protecting the education outcomes of our students. And so when we look at this, I don't think you have a lot of requests this year for once-in-a-lifetime trips. It's days added to 3-day weekends, that sort of thing. And so if with the limited tools that we have, I encourage the associations to consider this by the time we have our second read and have this go away. But if it doesn't, I still think we need to make sure that we have clarity going into next year. And if they're going to paint us into this box to make sure that happens, then hopefully, that'll get into future discussions with the associations.
And I do think leave, well, I don't think leave always comes up at the bargaining table, always, right? Not necessarily unpaid absences, but all leave does, right? And I think when you look at leaves in totality, that also helps. Right now, we're looking at one type of leave, right? But you have personal leave, unpaid leave, sick leave, professional leave. Some places have sabbatical. I mean, when you start to look at leave in totality, that also helps because you can give a little over here and be harsher over here, or give a little or have a little bit of more. Like, we don't have that right now, right? We're looking at this as a single unit. And so I think when it comes to the negotiation table, that will certainly help, because in the conversation with the leadership, those other types of leave did come up. They said, well, could we put this and this together, or this and this together? The problem with that is you're almost pre-negotiating, and we want to avoid that, not only for our contractual language of when negotiation starts, but again, we want a process where negotiations is very declared, and then we start into that rather than doing that kind of beforehand. So I think they're absolutely open to it. I think it was just the timing of the rollover language, negotiations coming, that we're in this little bit of a weird interim.
And as I shared with you previously, it's I can see the need, but then I also fear the unintended consequences of this, where we might lose some people because they're like, I'm going to take that week in Greece and I'm going to go find another job. Like, so that is my fear. It's that balance between understanding the educational impact and the need to do this versus, are we going to lose some strong people with an unintended consequence, and where is the balance of those two needs? So it's, I think we all can appreciate that we want to maintain time, but it's where that balance is for me personally. So, all right, any other discussion on that? All right, facilities. Who wants to do
Who
facilities? Who wants to take facilities?
I can take that. We've had our high school visioning session, which was very robust, very well attended, and it was really great to just hear our students, our community members, our parents, our staff. We were all kind of like in the same vein of thought, which was helpful, right? Sometimes you're like, I wonder if that's just a me thing, or if that's just, or not. Walked away, we actually got to do some group work at our tables where we actually saw some design elements, but more, rather than the design element, talking about how that impacts education. Does that encourage collaboration? Does that have a flexibility with space? Does it allow you to do more of a think tank? So again, it wasn't the design piece, but how certain design elements impact the educational venue or the daily, everyday experience. So really good opportunity to brainstorm. We're going to continue to do that with our junior highs as well. Again, that'll be a little bit different from a middle school model to a high school model, so we'll see how those compare. But some big things that came out were flexibility, collaboration, light, just the ability to have closeness in like more intimate settings versus these kind of sterile settings that sometimes that we feel. Cafeterias being small, but also having opportunity for different types of experiences. But I think the biggest thing that we heard was flexibility. Whether you're talking about athletics, music, their daily classroom, we understand that we're building buildings of the future, and we need those to be able to pivot as our needs change. We also recently in our facilities committee, as you know, our bond council came and talked through some various aspects of that. I think Mr. Zink will kind of maybe allude to some of those during his 5-year forecast pieces, but really just started the conversation and kind of started to delve in of what that could look like if a bond issue goes on the ballot in November. But I think we also know we can't build buildings without a bond issue, so there is that truth, right? That just the realization of that. And so also, speaking of that, there are some upcoming board dates. I just want to review not only for our sanity, but for also the public as well, because there's a lot of dates on the calendar. June 16th. June 16th is a special meeting. That is at 6 p.m. This is a new meeting that was not discussed at our organizational meeting, so there will be a special meeting at 6 p.m. on June 16th, and the conversation around that would be the resolution of the necessity to vote around the potential bond issue. So that means that would start that ball rolling if that is where we arrive. Then on June 17th, yes, that is the day after, so that's a Monday and Tuesday, we have our board retreat from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. This was already on the organizational meeting and was scheduled, but don't forget, we do have a facilities meeting prior to that, so we will have a full day together from 9 to 4. And then June 30th, again, a meeting that was already on our calendar, but just to make sure the public realizes kind of the cadence of things, we have a board meeting at 6 p.m. that day, and that would be the certification of the resolution for the vote for the bond issue. What that means is it would be going on the ballot. So again, that June 16th meeting would say we are declaring that we would like to do this, and then the June 30th meeting would say we are putting the bond issue on. And then last but not least, July 21st, board meeting at 6 p.m., again, already a regularly scheduled meeting. If we decided to put that bond issue, we did that resolution vote on June 30th, we would have our legal counsel come and give our Board of Education, I'm going to call it levy, but it's levy and bond training from a legal counsel about the new, but the law that is being more enacted now than in the past. It's not a new law, but it certainly does have different teeth to it about what our role as superintendent, treasurer, and board members looks like if and when any type of levy goes on the ballot. So just a review for those, but also all of those will be public noticed, of course, but again, just wanted those on the radar to not only just as a reminder to us, but of the cadence that's getting ready to take place.
And on the June 16th meeting, we'll have that notice sent out once we have the kind of the agenda trued up a little bit better. The notice has to include the agenda, so we're kind of holding just a little bit on that until we make sure that we've captured everything, so we don't have to send a revised notice out. We will if we have to, but prefer not to.
We are in hiring season, and so being that this is an early board meeting in May, we don't have another board meeting in May. That's a pretty good length of time from an HR standpoint to hire people. So again, we might put some staffing pieces, some finalization or approvals on that June 16th, and so that's what Adam is referring to. Just want to make sure that we have all of those pieces before the notice comes through.
So let me get this. The June 17th is from what time?
There is master's facility starting at 9, so
Yeah.
that will be an hour, and then we have the board retreat from 10 a.m. to 4.
Till 4. Okay. Got that.
All right, that was a lot. We appreciate all that review. We've all been we're trying to not be calendar challenged and keeping it all up to date, which we have then under G there as the committee and community conversation meeting dates and times, and we appreciate Adam keeping that up to date for us. Anything else on facilities that anyone wants to discuss? Thank you for everyone for attending the last meeting and reviewing that work. Finance committee?
We met last week, and in the meeting on Friday, we reviewed the permanent improvement budget, kind of where we're at in that fund. We have 1.09 mils that currently go to our permanent improvement fund. It was initially voted in back in 2013 as a 2 mil, so that's another impact of the House Bill 920 that has rolled that one back. So we reviewed that. We also reviewed reserve accounts and the way that we could use those, utilize those, and how the impact that would have on our current and future budgets. And then we very lightly actually talked about the 5-year forecast. That was kind of the afterthought, really, for this meeting compared to what we normally would have in the May finance meeting. So.
Great, yes, a lot of what we reviewed we'll be talking about, so I don't think there's a lot that we need to still hit. Any board professional development anyone would like to report? All right, we'll move on. We talked about the committee and community conversation dates are all available and linked if anyone would like to do that or look at those. And then now we'll move to Mr. Zink getting his twice a year, 5-year forecast presentation.
15 minutes of things. All right. Is this on?
Yes.
All right. So this is that time of year again. This is the May submission of our 5-year forecast. Again, we do this in November. And then this is kind of viewed as a little bit of an update to the one that we had put in November. So to give a little bit of overview, we'll talk about the purpose of a forecast while we're doing this. Changes we have experienced, some of the high-level topics of revenue and expense, and then future planning. So the purpose of the 5-year forecast is basically a management tool. We want to make sure that the board, superintendent, leadership kind of has a trajectory on where the district in a financial aspect is headed. Again, this is something that is used to determine if we can sign 412 certificates. That's very critical in bargaining agreements. We have to make sure that we do have the money or projected to have the money in order to approve those. And then we also, this is a monitoring tool for the Ohio Department of Education as well as the Auditor of State's Office to make sure that districts are solvent and not in or approaching fiscal precaution or emergency. So changes from November. We've had a little bit of change to our revenues. It's been a positive change for fiscal 25. State aid has went up just slightly, and it's been due to, although we've seen a decrease in enrollments, we saw an increase to enrollments that get extra funding. So due to that, although we are on the guarantee, we were able to get some of that component funding that has resulted in a little bit of an increase there. Also, our interest held out. We had initially anticipated that that was going to roll back a little harder than it actually ended up doing this year. So that has been a pleasant surprise as well. And at this moment, we're actually holding those interest estimates a little bit higher through the 5 years we're forecasting. Again, mentioned in the last, we do have a levy modeled at this time in fiscal year 29. That is the last year of the forecast. So when you look at the impact, I had the slide wrong on the last one. I had it at 3.2. It's actually 3.4. When you look at that collection and these assumptions, please read the assumptions. They are located on board docs. They'll also be on the webpage. But when you look at that, the number really doesn't look as large, but it's because of the way that our tax collection are split with our fiscal years. So that's really representative of about half of that collection. And then the following year, when we get to the November forecast, you'll really see the impact of what that whole would look like. Also on the expense side, we have had a large increase in our projected severance payments this year. That has been due to a large large increase to our retirements. We initially had been forecasting around 24 per year. This year it went from 35 down to 33, and then it just recently went to 32 years of service. So because of that, we are pushing 72 at this moment. We have been told that there are several employees that have made appointments with STRS, but they cannot get in till July. So because of that, we may have even more retirements coming, which that does have a positive impact on the future years of our salary schedules. However, it's going to have, in the first year, it's going to have a big hit on that severance payment. So we're going to continue monitoring that. We might not have the actual impact overall until closer to the end of July. By the time everybody ends up getting through this, has kind of created a mess on that end as well, the pension system. Healthcare, we have seen that now healthcare had a little bit of a change compared to where we had in November. We initially had a 4%. Now we're showing a 6% for all forecasted years, fiscal 26 through 29. And then again, we have the programming and facilities. The reason we want to really hit on the facilities is although we do have the levy model, this is one of the big points that we're trying to make, is we do have a levy model. That's what we know at this moment. However, if we are able to get a master facility project off the ground and be able to consolidate some of our buildings for the lead into 29, fiscal year 29, we are very, very, very hopeful that we can avoid that. So essentially what this forecast is representing is we have to have something happen. We're either going to have a levy for buildings and facilities that would get us into a smaller footprint of overall building counts that we could operate a little bit more efficiently, or we'll have to have some operating dollars to keep managing the footprint that we're currently in. So that's part of what the programming and facilities expenses is lining up with. Now, once we had a bond issue passed in order to do master facilities, we've been really talking with the architects on we need to know if something would skew the fiscal year 29, which is the 28-29 school year. If something moves us from a start date there, then that would potentially have an impact on these forecasted numbers. Right now, we are still on that trajectory, so that's what we're looking for. And then the biggest change that we've had from the November, really, revenue expense really wasn't that large of a change overall from what we had forecasted in November. However, we do have the reserve accounts coming in now. We are looking at putting in reserve accounts for transportation. That would be busing, our bus fleet, not our bus staffing. Then we would have curriculum, which is currently been built into the forecast. However, we would remove those numbers from the forecast and put them into a reserve account. That way we can make sure future dollars are there. And then severance, that's really became a hot topic this year with the large increases to our retirements. So this is what the reserve accounts would look like based on this forecast. So the transportation, all three of these buckets are essentially taking in a 3-year reserve Transportation is going to be pretty high right off the bat due to Peterman currently owns the entire fleet. So once we would have the fleet purchased back, then this is looking at like a 16 bus per year rotation. But it's also on all three of these, this is also assuming a phase out over a 10-year period. Not a phase out because we necessarily want to, but a phase out because we don't want to be overly conservative here. We really want these to just be in and out. In a perfect world, the reserve would just kind of equal out to what we have year over year and really stabilize the fluctuations that we could see within the market and give us a little more time to react. So that's kind of how these are set up. Severance, again, this year being a very high year, but it's really based on negotiated agreements with 3 more years. So if everything works the same way as it has in years past, even though we're essentially getting 3 years worth of retirements in this year, then next year we should be going back to the 24 per year rotation that we've seen before. And that's what the forecast is also representing. So this slide is going to show you what the revenue growth looks like and as a percentage. So as you can see, the revenue's tapering down, but then when we hit go into fiscal year 27, you see a large increase. That large increase is because of the reappraisal that we have coming up. Lakota is very, very, very heavily funded on the property tax side, much more than the state side. So because of that, the property tax has a big change for us percentage-wise. And then each year you get out from the reappraisal, and you'll have an update 3 years later, then you would see another increase. So that's kind of the cyclical change that we're having on the revenues. Now when you look at the expenditures, you're going to see that large drop. The large drop is created because of these reserve accounts. This is a supplant, it's offsetting some of our general fund expenditures, but then in the out years, as you can see that line really stabilizing, that's what we're trying to accomplish with this. We don't want to have large ups and downs or downs that are results if we had to cut programming. We just want that to flatten out and be as smooth as we possibly can. So that's part of the benefits of putting in a reserve is just that stabilization, and then year over year we'll be able to manage that. And finally, last, we'll align all of the documents, we'll align all this with the strategic plan. That's going to be based around goals that we have for the district and how we can recalibrate or realign the resources we have. And then I had to change the icon on this one to on how do we get there, because it's starting to feel like we're scaling up a mountain backwards. But once we have the plans and the roadmaps, we'll do everything we can to calibrate that and communicate that transparently to the community so that they can understand where we're headed and where we would like to be and how we're going to get there. Again, we've mentioned it every year. This is one of many places where we have financial resources that people in the community can look into, get clarifications, or always reach out to me or anyone in the finance department to get a better feel for questions that they may have. And if we can't answer it, we'll point them in the direction of someone who could. Do we have any questions?
Questions? I don't have a question. Thank you for the presentation. Just to reiterate to the community that will be watching this tomorrow, we are not planning on bringing busing back in-house right now. We're just going to own the buses, which is an advantage to the district.
That is correct. This is only looking at the physical bus fleet, the yellow bus fleet, and in an effort to, one, it will reduce down the cost of our current Peterman contract because they own it. It will also allow us to entice additional people to bid on this contract. Servicing over the last several years has been, a major issue, and I don't think that's necessarily a Peterman issue. I think that that's a issue with just being able to find operators of the fleet. So, anything that we can do to help enhance that and also get it at the best price point we possibly can is going to be important to us long term.
And just a reminder that the 5-year forecast is a snapshot in time, and it's constantly changing.
That is correct.
And you're constantly watching it. It's not, this document doesn't get filed somewhere and we don't look at it again until November.
No, and also with the setup of these reserve accounts, we're also going to have to go back to the drawing board with policy. We have to realign that because we're falling into a different tier now of how we would calibrate where we are at financially with our true days cash, having reserve accounts versus not. Another great example is you'll always hear if we go to conferences that salaries and benefits should be 85%. Well, ours is 75%, so that means that we're in really, really good shape.
Good shape, yeah.
But we have all of our transportation outsourced. So because of that, if you brought that back in, we would be a little bit lower. So it's just a recalibration so that everybody on the management team will know where we're at and know when we need to make audibles and change.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
I have a couple in the weeds questions, shockingly, I know. And just reading the assumptions. So one of the things that I thought I understood when reading through the assumptions was that it says that College Credit Plus is no longer being fully funded from the state. Is that, did I interpret that bullet
No,
correctly?
the wording on that, it's in number 4, I think it was. I sent you a snip back in the email.
okay.
The wording on that's a little bit goofy, maybe. But no, College Credit Plus is still a reduction out of our state foundation payments. So that is still in there.
Okay, so, and then.
And we are also still, to add on that, shout out to the curriculum folks, we are still showing that as increasing year over year based on the planning that the curriculum department has. So this year it's right around 740,000 there.
Okay, and then the amount we get for the students who are still, that we've grandfathered, that are open enrolled for us, we get, is it accurate to say that we get about a third to a quarter of what a private school student would get for that same
That would
student?
be correct on the base state funding, correct.
All right, that's all.
Wasn't too bad.
Gotta love it. All right, any other questions or thoughts for Adam?
Thank you.
Thank you. This is more, the reserve accounts are more what I'm familiar with how Butler Tech has done their reserves, and I think it will give us the opportunity to make sure that we continue to invest in the important things. We saw what happened in our report card results when we were choosing not to invest in some things that are important to make sure that you consistently invest in. So I'm hopeful that this will allow us to be more diligent in making sure we make the right short-term investments for long-term success.
Yeah. Thank you. No applause?
Good, for next time, bring a big foam finger.
Yeah, right.
I don't know, Cindy and Easton did a much better job.
All right, now we're moving to board action items. 8A, approval for, resolution for special education model policies.
So this is a model.
Can we-
Go ahead.
So moved.
Sorry, I have a second?
Second.
Discussion?
I was so excited, sorry. No, resolution. So unlike the first read, this is a resolution, meaning it doesn't need a first read and a second read. And really, this is from the Department of Education and Workforce, that basically says that we will adopt the guidance and policies set forth by DO around IDEA and things of that nature. And so we basically approve this, and then we need to upload it into our SAFE account, which is really just what speaks to the state. You will notice on the back section that we have to have clarity of who actually uploads that into the computer. And we talked about this into policy, and it lists either myself as the superintendent or the director of pupil services. We felt it the most fitting for the director of pupil services, since this is around special education, that this be the person that uploads that. So really, it's a resolution to follow the policies put forth by the state. And once we approve that by the end of May, we will get that uploaded in the system per the requirement.
Great. Any further questions or anything for Ashley? Hearing none, Adam, please call the roll.
Ms. Casper?
Yes.
Ms. French?
Yes.
Mr. D?
Yes.
Mr. Horton?
Yes.
Ms. Schaefer?
Yes. We're now moving to treasurer's recommendations A through D, approval of board minutes, approval of the monthly financial reports, approval of the five-year forecast, and approving fund-to-fund transfers. Do I have a motion? Goodness.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Any further discussion?
The fund-to-fund transfers, that is the fund-to-fund transfers we talked about for reserve accounts.
Yeah.
Only. There still will be some coming in June, but we have to have the other numbers together for that.
All right. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Mr. Zink, please call the roll.
Mr. D?
Yes.
Mr. Horton?
Yes.
Ms. Casper?
Yes.
Ms. French?
Yes.
Ms. Schaefer?
Yes. All right, we're moving to superintendent's recommendations, approval of personnel items, approval of field trips, and approval of donations. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Discussion?
Just to draw your attention to a couple pieces, you will notice that we are approving the miscellaneous rates of pay again, and that is just because of a sub-change. We normally do that at the start of the year to establish for the year, but there needed to be a sub-change kind of made around April, and so that is the reason you're seeing that again. Also, last month, we saw limited contracts and continuing contracts for approval. Ideally, going forward, we will put administrators on it that same month, just for clarity that we know all personnel will happen in April, but there was still some finalization of some things that needed to be done, so you were seeing admin renewals for this year on the May agenda, but again, ideally, we will link those up going in the future. And then last but not least, I do want to draw your attention, because it's not something that we do regularly, is the retire, rehire language. So basically, you will see several resolutions all tied to the retire, rehire language. This is the resolution to initiate the procedures for 2 administrators retire, rehire. That would be Mr. Scott Kaufman and Mr. Eric Bauman. Just to clarify, this does not mean you are approving the retire, rehire. This is the resolution to set forth the process to even possibly be able to do so. You will also see that there is the public notice. What that means is that at June 30th, at our regularly scheduled board meeting, during the meeting, so not our listening session that happens at 5:30, but during the meeting, there would be a specified resolution that we will read during that around the public notice, and people would be able to come, very similar to what we do in the listening sessions, and speak around their thoughts or comments around the ability to rehire Mr. Kaufman or Mr. Bauman. And then in July 21st, we would actually approve whether we would do the retire, rehire process of those 2 individuals. So this is a process. What you are looking at tonight is the approval just to initiate for that even to be a possibility. Then in June 30th, we would have the public hearing. And then on July 21st, we would have the actual approval if we are going to retire, rehire them, so that we would be able to start the year in whatever capacity.
Thank you for that thorough explanation of this very prescriptive process. Any other discussion? Hearing none, Mr. Zink, please call the roll.
Mr. Horton?
Yes.
Ms. French?
Yes.
Mr. D?
Yes.
Ms. Casper?
Yes.
Ms. Schaefer?
Yes. All right, closing comments. We'll go this way again.
Okay. All right. I want to start with, thanking our military families and what they do for our community, and to also, appreciate our students, Cherokee Elementary School and Lakota East High School, for their presentations today and what they're doing to support military families. And it's very encouraging to see kids seeing and appreciating what they do. So just want to say that. And I also want to congratulate our retirees. It's time to move on, but I know some of them will still be giving us support. I love it that Mrs. Can't remember her name now, still going to continue with the club.
Yep.
So that's encouraging to hear that. I also wish to use this opportunity to, as we are going through graduations, to thank all the unsung heroes. The unsung heroes are mostly people that you never hear their names, or you never hear the students mention them in their graduation speeches or thank yous. And those people make a lot of impact, positive impacts in the life of our kids. I was at the Chambers of Alliance dinner a few days ago, and I met one of our staff. She didn't know me much. I didn't even know her myself. So we were just having conversation, and we talked, and then she later told me she's one of our staff here at Lakota. I didn't get her permission, but I don't want to mention her name. She was telling me a lot of things that they do, which I know support our kids in their education. And mostly people like that you never know, or you never hear their names. Our SROs, our janitors, administrators, people that normally you don't hear about them. So I want to use this opportunity to thank them in advance as we go through this graduation. You may not hear your names, you may not hear your position, but we know that you're there and you're doing all you can to help us these kids graduate. So thank you so much. That's all I have.
Thank you. Mr. Horton?
Yeah, I mean, I think we always say how busy May is and packed in, but I've really had fortune of all the things that I've been able to attend recently. I'm going to add another one. I originally was going to say two moments really stood out for me, but I'm going to add a third one after today. Last week I was privileged to attend the East Baccalaureate, and it was amazing to see, our students talk about family, friends, faith, and their future. And really just bear witness to what they've been able to experience while they're here. Also having known several of those speakers, to remember where they were in elementary school at Union Elementary and to see them articulate and just have these clear, distinct voices was really a privilege. But also it was great to see the outpouring of the community, because that's an event that's set up by volunteers and by our community partners to give that moment for those students, which really, really touched me. The second was this weekend I got to attend the Powder Puff football game between East and West. And I cannot think of a more fun event that I've been able to experience. All of the girls on both sides of the field were just having a blast, and the way that the other students supported the girls. So East had some of the boys do cheerleading and halftime routines. There was volunteers that were helping them run plays and teach it. And all of it was to benefit youth and philanthropy. So they made a great opportunity to give back to the community as part of it. So it was just really stood out. And then the third I'm going to add is earlier today when we got to recognize our retirees. It was really, really special. We've got a lot of them this year, and it's such an impact to see the legacy that they've left on our students. And so really privileged to be able to do that. And all of this just shows how much love there is in this community for our students and for our schools. And I'm really, really grateful to have been able to experience that recently.
Great. Mrs. French?
I'm going to piggyback right off of that and say congratulations to all of our retirees. And thank you for your commitment and dedication, not only to Lakota, but most importantly to our students. The impact that you have made, even in just one life, let alone hundreds, has been tremendous, and I'm grateful that you chose Lakota to see that time through. And I'm just looking forward to all of the exciting end-of-the-year celebrations, early childhood all the way through high school and graduations. These next 2 weeks are really exciting, so I'm excited to get out there and see those take place.
Fabulous.
So the next board meeting, we will be together. I will have been here a year.
Oh.
June 1st is when I started last year, right around that time, transitioning. And so, I guess the official date was July 1st, but we were starting the transition process in June. And so I can remember I was telling Miss Maney when we were celebrating retirements, I was sitting in the Lakota West graduation audience watching it. And so to be able to participate that in a different role this year will be very, very exciting. It has been a wonderful year, and I am truly reminded of our theme this year of Together We Can. Together we can with our retirees, together we can with our graduates, together we can with our Board of Education. It has been a really good year. The work is not done, and we will continue going into next year. But again, just a really reflective year at this time of year with our graduates and our retirees and our staff of what amazing work you can do together in just a short time.
Mr. Zink?
It's hard to imagine, really, like you saying, the reminiscing. It's like two years ago, I got a text before the 5-year forecast presentation that I had to get home because we had a baby go to the hospital. Yeah, so we've come a long way in that. Now he's a real handful. But wanted to give a big congratulations to Darian Oskley, my assistant treasurer. He has a contract renewal tonight, and it's very well deserved. I appreciate everything he does and everything he does to keep the office running as smooth as possible and all the chaos that we've been living through over the last few years. So shout out to Darian. He's online right now watching from home. And congrats to all the other admins as well. It's always a big thing, and appreciate everything everybody does. Congrats to all the retirees. What a fun moment in life to get to. I've had a few conversations with a couple of them, and it's really like a transition, it seems like. How to let go of certain things. Am I ready? Am I not ready? So it's kind of like the whole new chapter. So congrats to all of them as well.
I think I want to start, I had in my notes that this is Dr. Whiteley's will be ending her first school year. And we are thankful and grateful for your leadership and all the things that we've done this year. It's a heavy lift your first year anyway, and there's always something that pops up here and there that you don't expect. So thank you for hanging in there. Again, I want to congratulate, I know I'll be like the sixth person now to congratulate our retirees.
I'll get to be seventh.
And Julie will be the seventh. We are grateful for everything they've done, and as I look at the list every board meeting, I see another teacher that impacted my children's life that, you know, that'll be leaving, and the service they gave to Lakota. But also something exciting that I saw in today's personnel is we've hired a teacher that was my neighbor, and when I moved in, she was in kindergarten to our house, and now I just saw that we are hiring her as a fourth grade teacher. So to see that full circle moment is really, like, it kind of chokes me up. So while we're losing some great people, I love that we continue to hire our alumni, whatever that word is. So that was a kind of an exciting thing to see. So congratulations to our retirement, well deserved, and we're excited about all of the things that are coming up in graduation.
Great.
Would you like to thank our retirees?
Again, we still have a few concerts left, whether there be choral performances or band performances. If you had an opportunity to see the first concert and then the last concert, I mean, they're always amazing, but they're even extra amazing by the end of the year. So that's a great opportunity to take advantage of. Again, congratulations to our retirees. I did some rough math in my head and based on assumptions that may not be based in fact. I'm guessing we have about 2,000 years of experience-ish that we're going to lose this year. And you think of, you know, how many kids they have poured into and what that looks like. It's going to be, you know, that's just a lot of dedication and a lot of hours and a lot of love for our kiddos. But I love listening to their stories about what they're going to do. Like, one's my daughter's getting married, one was going to Europe, one, like, all the different things, to our point of our schedule is not very flexible. And now, you know, the spouse was like, I'm looking forward to going on a vacation with my wife when it's not the school year. So it is great to know that while they have, and we're so thankful for how much they poured into our kids, now is an opportunity for them to enjoy this next phase. And again, Dr. Whiteley spoke about the GEMS at the beginning, which was our Diamond Award winners this time, who are our old former educators of excellence. And not only was it wonderful to listen to the stories, but the pride of their colleagues and their students was amazing. And you sat there, I loved, like, one of the administrators was like, oh my goodness, I just sent a note to all of you thanking you for this school year before I knew that I was getting this award. So you're going to think the thank yous from this, but I just appreciated working with you. And story after story of, you know, another teacher who said, it's been my privilege and gift to be able to serve all these kids and what I've been able to do. And I've loved every minute of it. And it's so fun to be able to see how much pride that we know exists in our district every single day. So thank you for that. And with that, we'll take a motion to move into executive session to consider the appointment, employment, dismissal, discipline, promotion, demotion, or compensation of a public employee or official per Ohio Revised Code 121.22. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, Adam, please call the roll.
Mr. Horton?
Yes.
Mr. D?
Yes.
Ms. Casper?
Yes.
Ms. French? Ms. Schaefer?
Yes, and we will come out to adjourn the meeting, but we will not be taking action.
You should tell them that.
They said, somebody asked, are you dumb?
Rhetorical question.
Yeah, she went to ask the
Mics are on.
the person's opinion. The person said, are you dumb? Oh.
Apparently that's a thing, some kind of video where you like to watch people chew things. It makes me insane.
Have you seen the whisper? That like you just listen, it's like YouTube videos where you just listen to her whisper?
No, I think it would make me crazy. Yes, I can't do it. I cannot do ASMR. Yes, yes. That's what I was talking about. I've seen that and it freaks me the heck out. She eats that crunchy.
All right, are we all ready? All right, I'd like to pull us out of executive session. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, Adam, please call the roll.
Ms. Casper?
Yes.
Mr. D?
Yes.
Ms. French?
Yes.
Mr. Horton? Ms. Schaefer?
Yes, thank you.